Right now, stop what you are doing and listen with the part of you that already knows this is for you. Something has been happening in your life that you have not had the words to explain, and the fact that you can feel it does not make you dramatic, confused, or weak. It means you are awake enough to notice what others miss. Stay with me, because by the end of this message, you are going to recognize the signs, the pattern beneath them, and the reason this reached you on this very day. By the time we close, you are going to see why certain moments have felt heavier than they should, why some doors seem delayed even when you are doing everything right, and why your spirit keeps refusing to settle for what used to satisfy you. You are going to recognize the quiet confirmations that have been circling your life like a witness. You are going to understand the hidden pattern that has been draining your strength in places no one can see. And before this ends, I am going to speak a declaration over you that is not meant to flatter you, but to seal what heaven has already been revealing. This message reached you by appointment, not by accident, not by noise, not by coincidence. You did not land here because you were bored. You landed here because something in you is ready to name what has been unnamed for too long. And I know that because there is a kind of tiredness that does not come from work, and a kind of ache that does not come from grief alone. It comes from carrying a truth in silence while the world keeps asking you to pretend everything is normal. You have been smiling through pressure. You have been answering messages while your heart has been asking questions. You have been showing up, being responsible, being faithful, and still there is a part of you that feels as if you are standing in a room where the air has changed. No one around you may be saying it, no one around you may be naming it, but you feel it. You feel that something in your life has shifted and the old language no longer fits. There are moments when you look at the same people, the same routines, the same conversations, and something inside you quietly says, this is not the same anymore. That is not confusion. That is recognition. And if you have been attention, you need to prepare now. I put together an exclusive resource for those who feel set apart for something greater, but live surrounded by noise, distractions, and mental overload. This is a 30-day journey that will transform your life. A guided path to armor your mind and prepare for what's coming with daily practices of focus, boundaries, and discipline. Stop negotiating with the noise. Learn to spot distractions before they control you, and strengthen your mind. Also available in an immersive audio version. Over 10 Zuru readers have already transformed their lives through the 30-day journey. Thousands of people have already started this transformation. People like you who are tired of living in the fog. Ordinary people who decided to stop accepting mental chaos. Take advantage of this limited time offer only this month. Access your link just below in the pinned comment. Wondering whether you are becoming too sensitive, too deep, too aware? Hear me clearly. You are not losing your mind. You are being shown what can no longer be ignored. There have been signs. You wake at the same hour again and again, not once in a while, but enough times to make you notice. You open your eyes in the dark and feel as if your spirit is already standing before the day has arrived. You have sudden waves of emotion that do not match the moment in front of you. A quiet evening turns heavy. A simple conversation leaves you hollow. A memory passes through you, and suddenly your chest tightens like something old has knocked from the inside. People speak to you, and sometimes you hear the words but not the life in them. Conversations that used to feel easy now feel thin, and what once passed as enough now feels strangely hollow. You keep seeing repeated numbers, repeated patterns, repeated little echoes across your day that seem too exact to dismiss. A receipt, a clock, a license plate, a random page, a phrase repeated by two different mouths in the same week. You have noticed that certain things appear just as you are thinking about them, as if life is brushing your shoulder and asking you to pay attention. And there is another sign that may be even more intimate than all the rest. The places that used to hold your attention no longer hold it with the same power. Some pleasures feel flatter, some distractions feel louder but less satisfying. Some old conversations now feel like they were borrowed from a version of you that no longer lives there. That is not failure, that is not emptiness. That is a confirmation that your inner world is being recalibrated, and what used to fit no longer fits because you are not the same person who once needed it. You are not being punished by the signs. You are being prepared by them. The waking hour is not random. The emotional wave is not random. The repetition is not random. The hollow feeling where old certainty used to sit is not random. It is confirmation. It is the quiet way truth announces itself before language catches up. And if one part of you has been afraid that all of this means something is wrong, I want to take that fear out of your hands right now. The signs are not telling you to panic. They are telling you to pay attention. They are telling you that your life is speaking before your mind has finished translating. They are telling you that your spirit is no longer willing to live on stale agreement. Take a breath with me. Let this land in the place where you have been holding too much by yourself. If even one of those signs just landed in you, if your shoulders dropped at any point while I was naming them, type the number 888 in the comments. 888 is the frequency of overflow, and your fingers typing it become a small agreement that says, yes, I recognize what is happening. Type 888. Then come right back to me. Because there is something beneath these signs, beneath the waking hour, beneath the emotional wave, beneath the hollow conversations and the repeated numbers. There is one single pattern that has been operating in the background. And once you see it, the signs stop looking mysterious and start looking merciful. The pattern is this. You have been carrying a posture of over-responsibility into places where your spirit was meant to rest. You have been trying to hold together what was already loosening. You have been trying to maintain closeness where honesty has already exposed the distance. You have been trying to prove your steadiness in rooms that keep asking you to shrink in order to belong. You keep pulling on ropes that are no longer tied to anything. You keep giving your strength to things that do not return life to you. You keep acting as if more effort will create what only truth can create. That is the pattern. Not laziness, not weakness, not lack of faith. Over-responsibility. The quiet belief that if you just carry a little more, explain a little better, wait a little longer, manage your feelings a little more carefully, then everything will finally settle into place. But that posture has a cost. It makes you tired in ways sleep does not fix. It makes you loyal to versions of relationships that have already changed shape. It makes you stay longer than your peace can bear. It makes you mistake endurance for alignment. And because you have been strong for so long, you may have started to believe that being the one who holds everything together is the same as being the one who is meant to carry it forever. It is not. Some of what you call faithfulness is actually habit. Some of what you call patience is actually fear of release. Some of what you call commitment is actually a refusal to admit that something has outgrown the room it was placed in. I am not blaming you for this. I'm naming it because it has been hidden in plain sight. This pattern has played out in your life more than once. You have seen it in the way you answer too quickly when your heart is unsettled. You have seen it in the way you make excuses for what keeps draining you. You have seen it in the way you keep trying to make peace with what has not made peace with you. You have seen it in the way you keep standing where you once stood, hoping the feeling will return, hoping the ease will come back, hoping the same arrangement will somehow produce a different result. But you already know the truth. And the truth is that the cost of staying inside this pattern is not always dramatic. Sometimes it is quiet. Sometimes it looks like numbness. Sometimes it looks like being technically fine while inwardly dim. Sometimes it looks like making it through the day, but losing touch with the pulse of your own life. That is the silent cost. not collapse, dimmed aliveness, not chaos, inner compromise, not failure, slow self-abandonment. And I need you to hear this carefully, because it matters. This was never proof that you are broken. It was proof that you have been trying to survive with a posture that no longer serves your becoming. There is a layer beneath this one. There is an older place where this pattern began to make sense. And the image I want to give you is this. Your life has been like a courtyard that was built to receive light, but at some point a high wall was raised at the edge of it. Not enough to destroy the courtyard, just enough to keep the brightest part from reaching the center. You still live there, you still move there, you still decorate there, but a portion of the sky has been hidden from you for so long that you almost forgot what the open part feels like. That wall was not built in a single day. It was built by repetition, by expectation, by quiet moments where you learned to step smaller than your own truth. It was built when you noticed that certain feelings were safer if they stayed unspoken. It was built when your clarity made other people uncomfortable. It was built when your tenderness needed protection. It was built when your natural light met an environment that could not fully receive it. So the courtyard adapted. It learned to live under partial sky. It learned to call that normal. It learned to measure the day by what was left after the shadow moved through. And because the courtyard adapted, so did you. You became careful with your own brightness. You became fluent in making yourself manageable. You became skilled at reading the room before you allowed yourself to be fully present in it. You learned how to survive under a lowered sky. That is the older formation beneath the pattern. Not a flaw, a response, not your essence, your adaptation. There was a time when your open center met a place that did not know what to do with it, so a part of you pulled inward to remain safe. A part of you lowered its own voice. A part of you dimmed its own light. A part of you agreed to become less visible in order to remain usable. And now, years later, you feel the ache of that agreement without always knowing its name. You feel it when you have too much to say and say too little. You feel it when you know exactly what is true, but your mouth hesitates to honor it. You feel it when your spirit is reaching toward open air, but your habits keep walking the old perimeter. You feel it when you sense that your life was made for more spaciousness than you have been living in. That is why the signs have intensified. The courtyard is remembering the sky. The wall is not your destiny. The shadow is not your identity. What was dimmed is now stirring. What was silenced is now listening for its own name. What learned to survive is beginning to remember how to live. And if that image is landing in you, if you can feel that courtyard in your own chest, then you already know why this message came now. Sit with that for a moment. Let the image speak before you try to manage it. If the courtyard is the place you have been carrying in silence, type the words, "I am awake," in the comments. Not as a wish, as a recognition. Let those words mark the place where the wall begins to lose its authority. Type it. Then come right back to me, because the return is not a performance. The return is not a list of rules. The return is not you becoming harder, louder, or more impressive. The return is a coming back to what was always yours before fear made you narrow. You do not need to earn your way back into your own spaciousness. You do not need to build a new soul. You do not need to become someone else in order to be allowed to live in the light you were made for. You only need to receive what has already been waiting for you. The first practice is simple, and it is not about doing more. It is about noticing where the wall still speaks. I call it the morning seal. When you wake, before you reach for the day, sit still for a few breaths and ask yourself one question. Where am I already bracing before anything has even happened? Do not rush past the answer. Do not decorate the answer. Do not explain the answer away. Just notice whether your body is bracing for criticism, for delay, for disappointment, for being unseen, for having to carry what is not yours. Because that bracing is the old courtyard speaking. And the moment you notice it, you are no longer inside it unconsciously. You are standing at its edge with awareness, and awareness is the first opening. The second practice is what I call the frequency audit. At the end of the day, look back gently and ask, what gave life and what quietly drained it? Name the conversations that left you clearer. Name the interactions that left you flatter. Name the places where your chest opened. Name the places where your spirit tightened. Do not make it dramatic. Make it honest. This is not about judging your life. It is about learning where the sky still reaches you and where the wall still casts a shadow. That awareness matters because what you tend will grow, and what you keep feeding without discernment will keep asking for more than it gives. You are being invited into stewardship now. Stewardship of your attention. Stewardship of your energy. Stewardship of your yes. Stewardship of the places where your light still enters. That means you do not force what is closing. That means you do not shame what is changing. That means you do not call every loss a failure. Sometimes a loss is simply the first gap in a wall. Sometimes a departure is the first evidence that the courtyard is learning the shape of open sky again. And I need to say this plainly. You are not being asked to chase your return. You are being asked to receive it. There is a difference between striving and tending. Striving says, prove that you deserve the light. Tending says, make room for what was already given. Striving says, hold everything tighter. Tending says, release what has gone cold. Striving says, keep performing stability. Tending says, tell the truth about what is and what is not alive. That is the return, not a conquest, a remembering, not a makeover, a homecoming. Take a breath with me. Let the old wall become visible without letting it become louder. Let the courtyard inside you feel the first touch of air again. If something in this message confirmed what your spirit already knew, let your like be your amen, without words. Not as a metric, as an agreement that what was named here was named correctly. And there is someone coming to mind right now, someone whose face just appeared while I was speaking. It may be the quiet one. It may be the tired one. It may be the person who keeps carrying responsibility with a smile that hides the cost. It may be the one who looks strong on the outside, but has been holding a secret ache nobody around them can see. It may be the one who has outgrown the room they are still trying to survive in. It may be the one who has been learning in silence how to live with a lowered sky. If that person came to mind, do not dismiss it. This is not about spreading a message. This is about delivering what was delivered to you. Send it to them as care. Send it to them as recognition. Send it to them as the kind of reaching that says, I saw you, even if no one else did. There is a reason that face appeared. There is a reason that memory surfaced. There is a reason your heart knew who I was speaking to before your mind named it. And before this closes, I want to place one final declaration over you, slowly, so you can hear it not as poetry, but as confirmation. You are not forgotten. You are not behind. You are not less because you no longer fit the old room. You are not too sensitive for the truth you are sensing. You are not too late for the return that is already opening. You are being confirmed. You are being gathered. You are being sent back to the part of you that still knows the open sky. Right now, all across the world, others are hearing this same recognition in their own way. They may not know your name, but they know the ache of carrying more than they should, the weight of staying where the air has changed, the quiet relief of finally being seen without being judged. You are not alone in this hearing. You are part of a recognition that does not need to shout in order to be real. It is sealed. You have not reached the end by accident. You are here because the part of you that knows how to recognize truth has not gone quiet, even if the rest of your life has felt crowded, delayed, or uncertain. And what is still forming in you is not confusion. It is clarity becoming stronger than fear. Before this closes, I need to take you one layer deeper because the signs you have been seeing are not only about what is changing around you. They are about what is changing in you and what is no longer allowed to remain hidden inside your own life. There is a point in a person's journey where the outer questions stop being enough and the deeper answer begins to rise. That is where you are now. That is why this message found you. That is why your spirit kept returning to it even before your mind could explain why. What you have felt in the last moments is not the end of the revelation. It is the threshold. And thresholds do something powerful to a soul. They reveal what was leaning on borrowed strength. They reveal what was built for survival, but never for peace. They reveal the difference between what was holding you up and what was actually holding you back. You have reached that place. You have reached the place where the old structure can no longer carry the weight of your becoming. You have reached the place where the door does not ask for more effort, but for honesty. You have reached the place where the next movement is not forward by force, but inward by surrender. So listen carefully now. The pattern was never only that you carried too much. The deeper truth is that you learned to confuse burden with belonging. You learned to believe that if you remained useful, if you remained steady, if you remained available, then you would remain safe. But safety built on self-erasure is not safety, it is postponement. It postpones grief. It postpones honesty. It postpones the moment when your own heart finally says, enough. And when that moment comes, it often feels like grief before it feels like freedom, because the soul mourns the shape of the life it had to inhabit. It mourns the room it outgrew. It mourns the cost of staying loyal to what could not hold its fullness. That is why this season has felt both heavy and holy. Heavy because you are seeing clearly what could no longer continue. Holy because you are finally seeing it clearly enough to stop pretending otherwise. There is a difference between abandoning people and abandoning distortion. There is a difference between walking away from love and walking away from what has repeatedly asked you to disappear in order to remain. And you are learning that difference now. You are learning that peace is not found by shrinking your needs until they become silent. You are learning that maturity is not measured by how much neglect you can endure without calling it harm. You are learning that devotion does not require you to keep standing where your spirit has already begun to leave. This is why the return matters, because the return is not rebellion. It is remembrance. It is the moment when the part of you that adapted too early begins to speak again. It is the moment when the part of you that learned to live with less light begins to turn toward the opening. It is the moment when the inner courtyard, which once seemed content with shadow, remembers that it was made for sky. And when that remembering begins, everything else changes. Your discernment changes. Your appetite changes. Your patience changes. Even your silence changes, because now your silence is not surrendering your truth. It is making room for it to arrive fully formed. So do not rush the process that is happening in you. Do not demand that the old wall collapse all at once. Do not expect the return to sound loud. Sometimes the first sign of return is gentleness. Sometimes it is the quiet refusal to keep calling exhaustion by holy names. Sometimes it is the calm that comes when you finally stop negotiating with what has already shown you its shape. Sometimes it is the simple knowledge that you are no longer willing to betray yourself in the name of keeping peace. That is not hardness. That is healing. And because this is a sealing word, I want you to hear the next part slowly and let it settle all the way down. You do not need to become more convincing. You do not need to become more impressive. You do not need to prove that your sensitivity is real. You do not need to earn permission to see what you see. You do not need to keep apologizing for recognizing what others refuse to name. What you need is to stay close to the truth that has already found you. To stay close to the truth that kept returning, to stay close to the truth that would not leave you alone. That truth is not fragile, it does not need defense, it only needs your agreement. And agreement is not always loud. Sometimes it is a breath, sometimes it is a pause, Sometimes it is the moment you stop defending the old arrangement and begin honoring the new one. If that is where you are, then you are not behind. You are exactly where release begins. Now I want to speak to the person who has been silently carrying all of this while appearing calm to everyone else. You have been strong in ways nobody applauded. You have been faithful in ways nobody witnessed. You have been discerning in ways nobody understood. And still, there were nights when you felt the old room around you tightening, even while you were doing your best to remain gracious inside it. Hear me. You were never meant to disappear inside what could not enlarge itself to meet you. You were never meant to keep shrinking until your own heart became a stranger to you. You were never meant to call that peace. You were meant to live from the place where truth and tenderness can stand together without one having to betray the other. That is the life opening now. It does not arrive as a spectacle. It arrives as a homecoming. A homecoming is not always dramatic. Sometimes it is a decision. Sometimes it is a release. Sometimes it is the first honest breath after years of unconsciously holding it in. And if even now you can feel that breath wanting to come, do not stop it. Let it come. Let it tell the body what the mind is still learning. Let it tell the heart that it does not have to keep performing protection in places where protection has become imprisonment. Let it tell the spirit that the door is not sealed shut. It is opening by degrees. There are people who will not understand the change in you. They will call it distance when it is actually discernment. They will call it withdrawal when it is actually honesty. They will call it a phase when it is actually a turning. Do not let their language define the holy movement inside your life. What is happening to you is not a collapse. It is a clearing. What is happening to you is not loss alone. It is release. What is happening to you is not the end of your story. It is the end of what could not continue with you into the next room. And that next room is not empty. It is not cold. It is not waiting to punish you for leaving the old one. It's waiting to meet the version of you that no longer needs permission to be whole. I know how subtle this can feel. I know how easy it is to doubt the significance of what you are sensing when the outside world looks almost unchanged. But the deepest movements of a life rarely announce themselves with noise. They begin in the unseen, where your responses shift before your circumstances do. That is why you may feel both tender and strong right now. Tender because something old is loosening. Strong because something true is finally standing. This is the kind of strength that does not posture. It does not threaten. It does not rush. It simply remains. And what remains is what carries you through the rest of the season without dragging your spirit back into the old arrangement. So I want to bless you with that steadiness now. May you stop mistaking endurance for assignment. May you stop calling every delay a denial. May you stop feeding what has already gone quiet. May you stop kneeling before what cannot bless you back. May you keep the part of you that still recognizes the open sky. May you honor the ache that tells the truth. May you trust the quiet that arrives after release. May you receive the peace that does not require you to vanish. May you walk without apology into the space that fits your soul. May you know that what is genuine does not need to be forced. May you know that what is meant for you does not ask you to become less alive in order to hold it. May you know that your openness is not a liability when it is guided by truth. May you know that your sensitivity is not the enemy of your calling. It is often the very place where your calling first begins to speak. And right now, all across the world, there are others hearing this same recognition in their own private way. Some are standing in quiet kitchens. Some are sitting in parked cars. Some are lying awake long after the house has gone still. They may not share your exact story, but they know the feeling of having to outgrow. Attention, you need to prepare now. I put together an exclusive resource for those who feel set apart for something greater, but live surrounded by noise, distractions, and mental overload. This is a 30-day journey that will transform your life. A guided path to armor your mind and prepare for what's coming with daily practices of focus, boundaries, and discipline. Stop negotiating with the noise. Learn to spot distractions before they control you, and strengthen your mind. Also available in an immersive audio version. Over 10 Zuzazara readers have already transformed their lives through the 30-day journey. Thousands of people have already started this transformation. People like you who are tired of living in the fog. Ordinary people who decided to stop accepting mental chaos. Take advantage of this limited time offer only this month. Access your link just below in the pinned comment.